Now, where do you actually begin to refine your scope and sequence and right size your course? Well, the first step is to begin by defining the time available. How you would plan a in-person course or a course online in a distance learning situation isn't all that different, but when you are doing it kind of for the first time, you need to build in some buffer space so that you can adequately accomplish what it is you set out to accomplish. So let's pretend that we started at the beginning of the year and we were defining in an in-person situation, we might have 180 days in a school year. We would then say, these are the number of lessons that I'm going to do. However, that's not the situation we're in. So we need to design our courses according to the situation that we're in. The first situation that we're in is that we're not at the beginning of the year. In our district, we are just after the end of the first quarter. That means that we only have so much time left in the school year. Okay. Next, we need to understand that the amount of time that a student is given per period, or in the lower grades, you might say per subject, however you define it, isn't the same as when we are in person. That means that we, again, need to truncate the amount of the number of standards that we're doing. Okay. So where do you begin? Well, you begin where you're at. So if we're right here in the school year, 8 to 9 weeks in, how many school days are left before the end of the school year? Okay. And I would estimate that there are between 135 to 140 days, give or take. But we've made the decision that we're going to do at least for the upper grades, we're not going to do new instruction on Wednesdays to give that day as an opportunity for students to complete work, since we have so many students that are just not engaging in their work. Well, that takes it down to about 105 to 108 days left. Now let's go ahead and round that down to a nice even 100 days. That's a great place to start. That you have 100 teaching days left in this school year. Okay. Now, if you were to chunk that into the different quarters, you might say about 32 or 33 days per quarter. Okay. And again, that allows for those professional development days. That allows for unexpected days off or whatever, or just when students need that a little bit of flex time. Build in the buffer. With that 100 days, though, again, our time on task is not the same. So our second parameter is the amount of time available for time on task. If you're in the high school or middle school, you might have 35 or 45 minutes, depending on how much time you have available. In the lower elementary, you might have more. You might have 45 minutes per subject. Whatever that time is, you'll know it, and so that's your parameter. But then again, I would still suggest rounding down, and so instead of 35, I might say 30. Instead of 45, I might say 40. And so now I have very specific time and day parameters. I have 100 days of learning in about 30 minutes per day. And so I can then start to build. And I would suggest thinking even down to the how long a particular lesson typically takes you. And that might be different per teacher, or it might be different per team, but you might be able to come up with an average. Okay, so for example, if a lesson typically takes 2 days, then that 100 days is actually 50 lessons. Or maybe my lessons typically take 1 day, so I have 100 lessons, or somewhere between there. Continue to define those time parameters so that you know this is what I have to work with. It's 50 boxes that I need to have the appropriate standards in. If I have 50 days or 50 lessons, or 100 days, however you define it, then I can then say these standards are accomplishable. And maybe you determine that you're going to try to do as many standards as you can, but you're only going to go into them a certain depth. So you might have closer to 100 days worth of lessons. Or you're going to do less standards, but you're going to focus on them more. So you might have closer to 50 lessons, so on and so forth. That's the determination that you have to make as an individual or as a team as you approach your course. What are your time parameters, and what are those standards that you're going to fit within those time parameters? Cheers.